Two people scroll the same feed. One sees content, the other sees money. This is where most people look away because they assume the difference is intelligence, or luck, or access. None of that addresses the mechanism underneath. Most financial advice misses the point. Spend less, save more, invest early. And still, two people with identical incomes end up in entirely different financial realities 10 years later. The variable is not the paycheck. The variable is perception. You have seen this. You just didn't stop. You have scrolled past a comment section filled with hundreds of people complaining about the exact same problem. You saw frustration. You kept scrolling. Someone else saw a market screaming for a solution they would pay real money to have fixed. Same screen, different filter. You have seen a product repeatedly out of stock. You saw inconvenience. Someone else saw demand that could be measured and met before the manufacturer even noticed. Same information, different interpretation. A tool people keep asking for in comments but does not exist yet. That is not curiosity, that is demand. And most people scroll past it because it does not look like an opportunity. It looks like a wish list. This is the exact moment opportunity appears and disappears, and most people scroll past it on purpose. The uncomfortable truth is that most opportunities do not look like opportunities until it is too late to act on them cleanly. If it is obvious, it is already crowded. The radiologist looks at a scan and sees a fracture. You see gray shapes. The image is identical. The training is different. That training is nothing more than learning which patterns carry consequence and which patterns are just visual noise. And here is the first real relief. You do not need to become a different person. You need a different question. Most people wake up and unconsciously ask themselves what they need to react to today. What is urgent? What is loud? What is screaming for attention right now? The minority asks a quieter question before anything else. Is this signal or is this noise? Signal is anything that indicates a change in demand, a shift in frustration, an inefficiency that someone would pay to remove from their life. Noise is everything else. The daily market swings, the viral outrage, the headline designed to make you anxious but not thoughtful. You have almost certainly experienced this distinction without naming it. You saw a service gap and assumed someone smarter would fill it. You saw a trend emerging and dismissed it as a fad. You saw a problem repeated across dozens of threads and filed it under things people complain about but never fix. You have ignored signals like this before. Not because you could not see them, because you did not label them as important. And sometimes you were right to move on, but sometimes you were wrong, and you never developed a system to know the difference. That is not a character flaw. It is a missing filter. There is a quieter trap most people never name. It is the belief that opportunity requires permission, a degree, a contact, a credential. Someone to validate that you are allowed to see what you are seeing. The 1% do not wait for permission, they trust the signal, and they act before the world agrees with them. Waiting for consensus is how you arrive exactly when the door closes. Therefore, the gap between seeing and acting is not courage. It is not risk tolerance. It is a simple filtering habit that most people never build, and the people who do build it are not guessing. They use a small set of repeatable questions. Is the pattern recurring? Is the frustration widespread and specific? Is the current solution missing or poorly executed? And most importantly, can the gap be closed without needing permission or massive capital? Notice what is missing from that list. They do not ask if they are the right person. They do not ask if the idea is original. They do not wait for a credential. They ask structural questions and then test the smallest possible version of the answer. This is where the entire game shifts. You have seen this happen in real time and you probably did not clock it as a pattern. A product category that everyone hated dealing with. Endless friction. No one enjoyed the experience. Someone built a slightly better version. It was not genius, it was just less friction. And people paid a premium for less friction. That is not a business insight. That is pattern recognition, a thread of thousands of comments all expressing the same specific frustration. That is not just people venting. That is demand screaming for a solution. And most people scroll past it because it does not look like an opportunity. It looks like a complaint section. Same data, different lens. This is the perceptual divide. And for decades, crossing that divide was expensive, until now. For decades, this ability was locked behind money, analysts, research teams, expensive data subscriptions. The 1% paid 6 figures to filter signal from noise because they understood a simple truth. Seeing demand before it becomes obvious is the only reliable edge that does not require breaking rules. That cost created a barrier. The barrier is gone. Now that same capability is sitting in your pocket, not as a collection of facts, not as a prediction engine, as a filter, a lens that strips away the noise and leaves only the pattern underneath. You have the same filter now. It is free, and you are probably using it to draft emails or summarize articles you will never open again. But most people ask the wrong question. They ask the AI for predictions. What will happen next? What should I invest in? What is the future of this industry? Those are guesses dressed up as analysis. The AI will answer confidently because that is what it is designed to do. But confidence is not signal. The right question is quieter and it sounds completely different. What is already happening that no one is talking about? What frustration is recurring across forums and comment sections? What demand exists that supply is ignoring or serving poorly? You ask the right question and the filter returns signal. You ask the wrong question and it returns noise that sounds authoritative. The difference is not the tool. The difference is the question you have trained yourself to ask. Here is where the quiet consequence becomes clear. If you do not adopt this lens, the gap does not stay the same. It widens. Every month that passes, the people who have trained themselves to see patterns are seeing more and acting faster. Not because they have more hours, not because they work harder. Because they have a better filter feeding them better information. That is a compounding advantage. And compounding advantages are invisible until they are enormous. The cost of ignoring this is not dramatic failure. It is staying exactly where you are while the ground moves underneath you. You work the same hours, you earn roughly the same amount. You feel the same low-grade anxiety that you are missing something, but you cannot name what it is. That anxiety is not random. It is what it feels like when your filter is trained on noise. This is not a call to panic, it is a description of a compounding effect. Small differences in perception compound into large differences in outcome over years. And the people who benefit from this do not talk about it loudly. They do not post about it, they just keep seeing what you scroll past. The 1% do not live in a different world. They do not have secret access to hidden information. They have a trained ability to stop on the signals that everyone else has been taught to ignore. And the barrier that once made that training exclusive no longer exists. You now have the same capacity, the same filter, the same lens, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Two people scroll the same feed, one sees content, the other sees money. Nothing changed about the world, only what you decided to notice.